What if I told you that you're just one step away from unlocking the ability to attract anything into your life, but there's an invisible saboteur inside you that's keeping it from happening? You've tried everything: meditating, affirming, visualizing. You felt that wave of power and thought, this is it. But a day or two later, it all falls apart. The anxiety returns, the frustration consumes you, and you're right back to square one. This cycle isn't your fault. It was designed to keep you stuck. In this video, I'm not going to give you yet another positive thinking technique. I'm going to hand you the key to deactivate that inner saboteur. A secret kept for millennia, attributed to the ancient Egyptian god Thoth. A technique so powerful that it doesn't just raise your vibration, it keeps it from dropping again. Stay with me till the end, because what I'm about to reveal will change the way you interact with reality forever. This wasn't supposed to be revealed, but if this video found you, it's because you're ready. If you've ever felt stuck in this cycle, comment below. I am ready to deactivate the saboteur. Before you ever learned what a bill was, before you cared about what others thought of you, before you even understood the concept of past and future, there was a state of absolute purity. Try to remember, not with your mind, but with your body, the feeling of being a very small child. Your essential nature wasn't anxiety, doubt, or lack. It was pure curiosity, joy without reason, full presence in every moment. You didn't worry about tomorrow. You lived the now with an intensity most adults have forgotten. That is your factory setting, your original state. We weren't born to struggle. We were born as beings of extremely high frequency, in direct resonance with the flow of life itself. In that state, there was no separation between desire and manifestation. It was a natural process, like feeling thirsty and finding water. There was no concept of making things happen, because everything simply happened through us. We were open channels for the universe's creative energy, and reality shaped itself around us with an ease we'd now call magic. But it wasn't magic. It was just our primal nature in action. That memory isn't poetic fantasy. It's a record that still pulses in every cell of your body. That feeling of longing for a home you can't quite name. That sense that something important was lost along the way. That's the echo of your original nature calling you back. Every ancestral tradition on this planet, without exception, speaks about this state. The Vedic rishis described it as Sat Chit Ananda, the union of existence, consciousness, and bliss. Taoist masters called it following the effortless flow of the Tao. It's the living truth of who you are, buried under the weight of the world. But somewhere along the journey, that connection was sabotaged. As we grew, the loud, fearful voice of the world started shouting louder than the quiet wisdom of our heart. We were taught to identify with our limitations, with our names, our jobs, our problems. Unity gave way to separation. We started to believe the lie that we were fragile, isolated beings in an indifferent or even hostile universe. And belief, as always, became our reality. Struggle became our new normal. And it was in that exact moment of forgetting that our vibrational fall began. The energy that once flowed like a mighty river started to hit barriers of fear, guilt, and shame. It began to stagnate, to rot. The river turned into a swamp. And we started to believe the swamp was our only possible home. But what exactly caused this disconnection? It wasn't an accident. It was a specific event, a deliberate cut in our consciousness. And the answer to that is stored in one of the best-kept secrets in history, a knowledge so vast it was attributed to a cosmic consciousness. This ancient knowledge doesn't just talk about what we lost. It reveals exactly how that loss happened. It points to the exact mechanism that interrupted the flow and trapped us in a low-frequency reality. It's a secret that explains why humanity lives in a state of spiritual amnesia, repeating the same mistakes generation after generation. And understanding this mechanism is the first step to reversing it, to finally remembering who we were before we were told who we should be. And that memory leads us directly to a figure shrouded in mystery, a master who, according to legend, held the keys to reality itself. A being who understood the structure of the universe in a way our modern science is only beginning to scratch the surface of. He knew exactly how we were disconnected, and, more importantly, he left behind the map to find our way back home. A map that's been hidden in plain sight for millennia. Long before the pyramids sliced through the desert sky, long before the religions we know today, a colossal wisdom was entrusted to a legendary consciousness known in Egypt as Thoth. He wasn't just a god with the head of an ibis. He was the divine scribe, the architect of wisdom, the one who recorded the destiny of souls and held the keys to science and magic. To the Greeks, he became Hermes, the messenger of the gods. And to initiates across all ages, he is Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great, the master of masters, whose wisdom is the cornerstone of all Western esoteric philosophy. Legends whisper about the mythical Book of Thoth, a set of papyri that supposedly contain the secrets of the very structure of reality. Formulas to command the elements, the power to heal any disease, and even the key to eternal life. It's said this knowledge was so overwhelming, so dangerous in unprepared minds, that it was sealed and hidden from humanity, meant to be revealed only when we were ready to understand it. This book is the archetype of the famous Emerald Tablet, where Thoth inscribed the principles of the universe. For millennia, relic hunters, occultists, and kings sought this power, believing Thoth's secrets were about external domination. They thought the transmutation of lead into gold was a chemical process to create material wealth. They believed the teachings were about gaining power over others, controlling nations, manipulating nature. But that was the greatest and most brilliant red herring in the history of spirituality. A smokescreen, a glittering veil designed to distract the curious and protect the true jewel, the real power. The great secret Thoth guarded so carefully was never about manipulating the universe out there. It was always about mastering the universe that exists within us. The alchemy of turning lead into gold was never about metals. It was a metaphor for the process of transforming our densest, heaviest, darkest emotions, like fear and shame, into the golden, radiant light of pure, enlightened consciousness. The power he taught wasn't to control others, but to achieve absolute self-control. Thoth declared to the world one of the 7 great Hermetic principles: nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. That phrase became popular, but its true depth was lost. People focused on trying to raise their vibration with superficial methods, like repeating positive phrases while their hearts were full of fear. They didn't realize they were ignoring the driving force, the true cause behind all vibration. The secret isn't to paint a golden layer over the lead. The real secret is to understand the mechanics behind vibration. Thoth knew that most people would never grasp the inseparable relationship between 2 forces that operate within us every second of our lives. They're not 2 separate things, but 2 sides of the same coin, a cosmic dance taking place on the stage of your soul. And it's the dynamic of this dance that determines absolutely everything you experience in your reality. Understanding this dance isn't just a key, it's the master key. Imagine 2 giant gears, perfectly interlocked, spinning at the center of your being. They're so interconnected that it's impossible to move one without the other, instantly moving in the same direction with the same intensity. They are, for all practical purposes, one single machine, Inside you, these two inseparable gears are called energy and consciousness. They are in a perpetual dance, one feeding the other in a continuous cycle that defines the quality of your existence at every moment. Neuroscientist, Dr. Joe Dispenza, after decades studying the effects of meditation on the brain, summed up this law in brutally simple terms. An increase in energy results in an increase in consciousness, and an increase in consciousness results in an increase in energy. It's a two-way street with no exceptions. You can't have one without the other. They rise together and fall together. It's a fundamental law of the inner universe, as certain as the law of gravity in the outer universe. Think about your own experience. When you're sick, drained, low on energy, what happens to your consciousness? Your thoughts turn negative. Your perception of the world gets dull. It becomes almost impossible to feel optimism or hope. Low energy drags consciousness down. Now, remember a moment of epiphany, of deep clarity, a moment when you understood something important about yourself. In that peak of high consciousness, what happened to your energy? You felt a wave of vitality, a power rushing through your body. High consciousness lifts energy. For a long time, humanity has tried to manipulate this dance in the wrong way. We've tried to force one of the gears to spin, hoping the other would follow. We've tried to force consciousness upward with positive thoughts and affirmations, while our body is vibrating in exhaustion and fear. Or we've tried to force energy upward with stimulants like coffee and energy drinks, while our consciousness is stuck in a loop of worry and negativity. These are temporary fixes that only create more imbalance. The fundamental mistake lies in trying to manipulate the gears directly. It's like trying to spin a car's wheels with your hands instead of using the engine. The true secret of Thoth, the mastery that the initiates sought, isn't in pushing the gears of energy or consciousness. It's in taking control of the engine that moves them both. There's a point of origin, a master switch that regulates the speed and direction of this inseparable dance. And that switch is something you already possess. It's a tool you use every second of every day, from the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep. The problem is you've been using it on autopilot, with no awareness of the creative or destructive power you're wielding. You've been the pilot of a supersonic aircraft but have let it fly on factory settings, never once touching the controls. Taking control of that switch is what separates a conscious creator from a victim of circumstances. It's the point where you stop being an effect and become the cause. And that switch, that driving force behind energy and consciousness, is the most powerful and most underestimated tool a human being has. Mastering it is the true path to freedom and effortless manifestation. The engine that powers the inseparable dance of energy and consciousness, the primary force that determines your vibrational frequency, is your attention. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. This isn't a motivational quote. It's the description of a fundamental law in the physics of consciousness. Your attention is the most powerful tool you have, the rudder that steers the ship of your life. It works like a spotlight on a dark stage, lighting up and bringing into existence whatever you focus on. The rest stays in the dark, in the field of unmanifested potential. It's not your random thoughts that create your reality. It's the attention you invest in them. A thought is just a passing cloud, but a thought you focus your attention on becomes a magnet, a single moment of genuine gratitude, where your attention is fully immersed in the feeling, in your heart, has 1,000 times more creative power than spending your whole day mechanically repeating the word gratitude, while your attention is actually on a debt you're worried about, or a grudge you're holding on to. The quality and intensity of your attention is what really matters. If your focus is constantly hijacked by disaster news, by other people's drama, by fears about the future or regrets about the past, then you're actively using your creative power to water and nurture those weeds in your inner garden. You're energizing scarcity, fear, and separation. No matter how many times you visualize a life of abundance, your attention always wins. The problem is that the overwhelming majority of humanity lives in a state of completely fragmented attention. Our focus has been trained since childhood to be reactive, not directive. It's hijacked every second by phone notifications, by clickbait headlines, by useless conversations. Our inner spotlight is out of control, blinking frantically between past and future, between guilt and anxiety, rarely landing on the only place where real power exists, the now. We live like passengers in a speeding car, staring fearfully out the window, not realizing the steering wheel has always been in our hands. This lack of mastery over our own attention is why people feel powerless, like victims of life. They're trapped in a frequency they didn't consciously choose, without even realizing that the prison was built and is maintained daily by the scattering of their own focus. Attention is the most valuable currency in the universe. But knowing that isn't enough. If attention is the master switch, the obvious question is, where exactly should we direct it to cause real, deep, and lasting change? It's not enough to just try to focus on good things. We need surgical precision. We need a map that shows us the geography of our inner world, that tells us where we are and what the next step is on the journey of ascension. And thankfully, that map has already been decoded. It offers us unprecedented clarity on the journey of human consciousness, showing the different levels of power and the emotions that correspond to each one. With this map in hand, the task of directing attention stops being a guessing game and becomes a precise science of personal transformation. It shows us the way to move out of the frequencies of suffering and into the frequencies of power and creation. Imagine having in your hands a GPS map of your soul, a guide that shows exactly where you are on your vibrational journey and what the most direct route is to the next level of power and freedom. This map isn't a theory. It exists. It was meticulously decoded over decades of research by Dr. David R. Hawkins, who created the revolutionary map of consciousness. Using kinesiology testing on thousands of people, he was able to assign a precise numerical value to each emotion and human state of being on a logarithmic scale ranging from 20 to 1,000. At the very bottom of this scale, we find the densest and most paralyzing states of existence, where life feels like torment. There's shame, with a frequency of 20, guilt at 30, apathy at 50, grief at 75, fear at 100, desire at 125, and anger at 150. Living predominantly in these levels is like trying to swim through quicksand. Every movement takes Herculean effort, and the feeling of powerlessness is constant. It's the realm of survival, brute force, and victimhood. The most crucial turning point in the entire human journey, the great gateway of transformation, lies at the frequency of 200, courage. This isn't just another step. It's the dividing line between weakness and power. It's the exact moment when a soul stops blaming the world, circumstances, or other people for its condition, and starts taking 100% responsibility for its own energy and its own life. It's the conscious decision that it has suffered enough, and that it's ready to seek the truth, no matter what it takes. Above the portal of courage, we enter the realms of true power, where life stops being a struggle and becomes a flow. We pass through neutrality, 250, willingness, 310, acceptance, 350, and then reach the higher states everyone seeks. Love, 500, joy, 540, peace, 600, and finally, enlightenment, from 700 to 1000. At these levels, synchronicity becomes the norm. Manifestation flows effortlessly, and reality seems to cooperate with your intentions because your high frequency naturally resonates with the abundance of the universe. This map offers us a clarity that is both liberating and brutal. Liberating because it shows us the path, but brutal because it reveals a shocking diagnosis of the current condition of humanity. According to Hawkins' extensive research, supported by ancient esoteric teachings from many cultures, the overwhelming majority of the world's population, around 98% of people, live with their dominant energy stuck below the 200 level of courage. They're trapped in an endless cycle of fear, desire, anger, and pride, without even knowing there's a way out. And the reason for this mass stagnation isn't fate, karma, or bad luck. The reason is a specific energetic block, a congestion of life force energy located in 3 crucial points of the human body. This block acts like an invisible anchor, preventing energy from rising to higher levels of consciousness and power. And the exact location of these blocks gives us the final clue to understanding why all attempts at positive thinking fail in the long run. You can't build a skyscraper on swampy ground. First, you have to drain the swamp. And these 3 points of blockage are the energetic swamp that keeps humanity trapped in a state of suffering. Your body is not just flesh and bone, it's a sophisticated energy system, a vehicle for consciousness. In Eastern traditions, the main processing centers of this system are known as chakras, energy vortices that correspond directly to the levels of the scale of consciousness. And it's here that the mystery of human stagnation is finally revealed. The lowest levels of shame, guilt, fear, and anger are not just abstract concepts. They are dense energies that accumulate and crystallize in the first 3 energy centers of the body. These 3 lower portals are the root chakra, at the base of the spine, linked to survival, safety, and the material world. The sacral chakra, below the navel, linked to sexuality, relationships, and primal creativity. And the solar plexus, at the pit of the stomach, linked to personal power, identity, and self-esteem. This is the exact location of the invisible prison, where 98% of humanity has its life force locked up, defining their entire life experience from a perspective of lack and struggle. When energy is blocked at the first portal, life becomes a constant, exhausting worry about money, shelter, and physical safety. The fear of scarcity drains life force, even if the person has resources. In the second portal, stagnant energy shows up as guilt, addictions, insatiable desires, and a never-ending cycle of toxic, codependent relationships. And when the main block is in the third portal, life turns into a constant battle for power, control, status, and recognition, fueled by anger and pride that are never satisfied. Living from these 3 centers is living in animal survival mode, even if you live in a mansion and drive a luxury car. You're constantly in a reactive state to the external world, driven by your most basic instincts of safety, reproduction, and domination. Your life is not guided by your soul, but by your most primitive fears and desires. You're not creating your reality. You're merely reacting to it, day after day. Meanwhile, the higher energy centers, the portals to higher consciousness, remain mostly dormant, undernourished. The heart, the portal of unconditional love, 500, the throat, the portal of authentic expression, the third eye, the portal of intuition and wisdom, and the crown, the portal of connection to unity and divine consciousness. The life force energy, which should flow freely through the entire system like a spring, gets trapped at the base, spinning in vicious circles of fear, guilt, and anger. That's why your attempts to vibrate love or feel gratitude often seem fake and unsustainable. You're trying to turn on the lights on the top floor of a building whose first 3 floors are on fire and cut off from power. The life force simply can't reach that high. This block isn't a design flaw or divine punishment. It's the direct and inevitable result of a defense mechanism we all learned in childhood. A mechanism that, in its desperate attempt to protect us from emotional pain, ended up becoming the very source of all our adult suffering. It is the root of self-sabotage, repeating patterns, and the feeling of powerlessness. And the secret technique Thoth protected, the real alchemy, isn't about adding more light, but about having the courage to descend into those 3 burning portals and finally release the energy that's been trapped there for so long. This stagnant energy in the 3 lower portals is the root cause of all the repetitive patterns that haunt you. It works like an invisible weight tied to your ankles, a vibrational anchor that ensures no matter how high you try to jump, you'll always be pulled back to the same place. It's the hidden force writing the script of your life without your conscious permission. Have you ever wondered why, despite all your efforts, it feels like you're reliving the same dramas, just with different characters and settings? This isn't some cruel coincidence of fate, it's the exact manifestation of that energetic weight. Think about your relationships. You break up with an unavailable or critical partner, swear you'll never go through that again. And months later, you find yourself drawn to someone who, in a subtly different way, repeats the same pattern of abandonment or devaluation. Or at work, you quit a job where you felt exploited and unappreciated, only to find a new boss and a new culture that deep down make you feel exactly the same. That repetition isn't bad luck. It's your stagnant energy acting like a magnet, attracting people and situations that resonate with the frequency of the original unhealed wound. When an intense emotion like fear, rejection, or anger happens, especially in childhood, and it's not fully processed, its energy doesn't just magically disappear. It crystallizes in your energy field, lodging itself in the portal that corresponds to its nature. A humiliation lodges as shame in the first portal, a betrayal as pain in the second, an injustice as anger in the third. A lifetime of small and large repressions, of holding back tears and pretending everything's fine, creates layer upon layer of that dense energy, forming an energetic mass that operates in your subconscious. That mass of unprocessed energy acts like an invisible operating system. It filters your perception of reality, making you see the world through the lens of your pain. A person with deep scarcity energy, for example, could win the lottery, but their internal programming will lead them to lose it all, whether through bad investments, excessive generosity, or self-sabotage. They need, unconsciously, to validate the belief that money doesn't last, or I don't deserve to be rich. The outer world simply obeys the command of your dominant inner vibration. The most shocking and exhausting part of all this isn't carrying the weight of these emotions itself. It's the colossal amount of life force you spend every day to keep them suppressed. Imagine holding a beach ball underwater. The effort to keep it submerged is constant and tiring. That's exactly what you do with your repressed emotions. You use your life force to police your inner world, to make sure those monsters in the basement of your psyche don't escape and rise to the surface. That effort of suppression is the true cause of your chronic fatigue, your apathy, your procrastination, and your inability to maintain a high vibration for long. You're not tired of life. You're exhausted from the silent civil war happening inside you 24/7. You're fighting against yourself. And the only way to win that war isn't to fight harder, but to declare a ceasefire. The only way to win is to surrender. But how do you surrender to something you've spent your whole life fighting and fearing? The answer to that question defies everything we've been taught about strength and control. The key isn't building taller walls to contain the pain. It's learning how to dismantle the dam that, in trying to protect you, ended up becoming your biggest prison. And that dam has a name, a specific mechanism that operates in all of us, a conditioned reflex that is the source of all energetic imprisonment. From the moment we're born, we learn a dangerous and deeply destructive lesson. That feeling certain things is wrong, unacceptable. Boys don't cry, good girls don't get angry, stop being scared, that's silly. No one ever sat next to us and handed us a manual on how to navigate the overwhelming intensity of those energetic waves we call emotions. We weren't taught to feel, we were taught to hide. And so, our primary instinct, reinforced by family and society, became to resist at all costs. When an uncomfortable emotion rises up from within, our entire nervous system goes on high alert. The body tightens, breath shortens, muscles contract. An automatic command fires through our being, a silent mantra echoing in our minds. I don't want to feel this. This is dangerous. I need to make it stop. And that contraction, that denial, that desperate resistance is the very glue that seals the bricks of our energetic prison. It's the act of slamming the door shut on a part of ourselves. What we don't understand in our survival programming is that the emotion itself is harmless. The word emotion comes from the Latin emovere, which means energy in motion. That's all it is. A wave of pure energy that, if allowed, would pass through our body system in about 90 seconds. As neuroscientists like Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor explain, it's a quick and intense storm, but it passes. However, by resisting it, by trying to hold it back, we freeze it in time and in the body. We build an internal dam to hold back the river of feelings. And the energy that should flow freely turns into a stagnant puddle, which over time becomes toxic. Resistance doesn't protect us from pain, it perpetuates it. It makes it permanent. It's the act of resisting sadness that turns it into a chronic state of depression. It's the resistance to fear that turns it into a generalized anxiety disorder. It's the resistance to anger that turns it into a deep bitterness that corrodes the soul. This escape mechanism, this fight-or-flight reaction turned inward on our own emotional world, may have helped us survive in childhood. It might have kept us alive in a hostile family environment or during abuse, where expressing feelings was genuinely dangerous. The problem is that this survival software is still running in our adult operating system, long after the original threat is gone. And now, it has become the main cause of our suffering. The energy you spend every day to keep that emotional dam standing is the same energy you're lacking to build the career of your dreams, to nurture a healthy relationship, to take care of your body, or to have mental clarity. You're exhausted because you're in a constant fight against the flow of your own life force that pulses inside you. The way out, therefore, isn't building a stronger dam or finding more efficient distractions. The way out is to do the unthinkable, the counterintuitive. Learn to open the floodgates. And to open the floodgates, it takes an act of radical courage, an act that goes against all of your programming. You have to stop treating your emotions as enemies and start seeing them for what they really are. Messengers. Parts of you that were exiled and just want to be heard and reintegrated. And there is a method for doing this, an alchemical principle that transforms the very nature of pain. The ancient alchemists, in their dusty labs, weren't really trying to transform metal. That was the coded language, the symbolic veil for the most secret, sacred, and powerful process of all, inner alchemy. The lead, dense and heavy, was never about the metal. It was a metaphor for our contracted consciousness, loaded with the density of pain, fear, and shame. And the gold, bright, incorruptible, and radiant, was not the precious metal. It was the symbol of enlightened consciousness, free, expanded, and pure. The technique being revealed to you now is the philosopher's stone itself, the method to transmute the lead of your stagnant energy into the gold of your true self. And the secret of that transmutation is so simple, it disarms and challenges the logical mind. If resistance is what freezes energy and traps it in the body, then surrender is what melts it and sets it free. The key is doing the exact opposite of what your conditioned survival instinct screams for you to do. Instead of running from the emotion, you turn and face it head-on, with open eyes. Instead of repressing the feeling, you welcome it into your inner space. Instead of distracting yourself with your phone, work, or food, you give it your full, focused, unconditional attention. This act of surrender has nothing to do with giving up, being passive, or becoming a doormat for life. On the contrary, it's an act of supreme courage, a demonstration of inner power. It's the conscious decision to willingly dive into the fire of the sensation you fear the most, trusting that on the other side, there is not the annihilation your mind imagines, but the liberation your soul longs for. It's walking into the storm instead of trying to build a stronger shelter. This path requires activating that frequency that lives at the 200 level on Hawkins' scale. Courage. Not the physical courage to face an external danger, but the spiritual courage to stop running from yourself. The courage to say yes to your internal experience, whatever it may be. The courage to fully feel the shame, the fear, the guilt, the anger, in their totality, without the filter of judgment and without the compulsive need to fix, analyze, or change anything at all. It's an act of radical, unconditional love for the darkest, most wounded, and rejected parts of yourself. It's like hugging a scared child inside you instead of locking them in the basement. And it is in that moment of loving, absolute presence that the magic of alchemy happens. The frozen energy, under the intense heat of your focused consciousness, begins to melt. The lead of pain starts to transform under the immense pressure of your presence. And what emerges is no longer pain, but the pure, bright light that was always there, waiting to be rediscovered. You realize that the pain wasn't the problem. The problem was your resistance to the pain. When you surrender to the sensation, you don't feed it, you metabolize it. The energy that was trapped in a pattern of contraction is finally released to flow again, rising through your energy centers and nourishing the higher portals of your being. Surrender doesn't make you weak. It makes you an open channel for the power of the universe. And this courageous surrender isn't some abstract concept. It's a practice, a sacred process with clear steps that anyone can apply to begin dismantling the energetic prison, brick by brick. It's the practical application of alchemy in your own life, a method to transform your greatest suffering into your greatest strength. Now let's get into the practice, the how-to, the real-life application of this alchemy in your life. When a dense emotion arises, whether it's a wave of panic, a stab of jealousy, or a deep sadness, instead of following the automatic pattern of escape or repression, you will make a conscious pause. You will stop everything. And then, you will follow these 3 sacred steps. The first step is, locate the sensation. Close your eyes for a moment. Completely forget the story your mind is telling about why you feel this way. Ignore the drama, the characters, the plot. Bring your attention inward and ask, where, physically, do I feel this? Is it a tightness in your chest that makes it hard to breathe? A lump in your throat that keeps you from speaking? A fire burning in your stomach? An emptiness, a weight on your shoulders? You don't need to give the emotion an intellectual name. Just feel it as a pure, raw, physical sensation. Give it a place in your body. Acknowledge its physical presence without judgment. Just observe. Ah, It's here, in my solar plexus. This simple act of locating already begins to separate you from the emotion, turning you from victim into observer. The second step is the most crucial and the most challenging. Allow full expression. This is the moment of surrender. You're going to give full permission for that energy to move however it wants to. Surrender completely to the sensation. If the urge to cry comes, don't hold back the tears. Cry hard, sob, let the pain out. If your body wants to shake, tremble, contort, let it. If there's a scream stuck in your throat, go somewhere safe, like inside your car or with your face buried in a pillow, and let it out. Let go of any need to control the experience or appear civilized. Your only task is to be the safe space for the energy to move. During this process, your mind will panic. It'll bombard you with victim stories, catastrophic scenarios, harsh self-judgments. You're weak, this is never going to end, it's so-and-so's fault. Ignore it. Treat those thoughts like background noise from a poorly tuned radio. Keep your focus gently anchored in the physical sensation in your body. The mind wants to pull you into the drama of the story. Your task is to stay with the truth of the energy in the body. The story is the past. The energy is the now. Stay in the now. The third and final step is breathe through it. Start breathing deeply and consciously, but with a specific intention. Imagine that you're breathing in and sending your breath directly into the center of the physical sensation. Don't breathe to try to push the sensation away or get rid of it. Breathe to be with it, to hold it with your presence, to infuse it with the energy of your awareness. Stay present with the wave of energy, riding it with your breath, until it loses strength on its own. You'll know the release has happened because you'll feel an unmistakable physical and energetic shift, a sudden lightness, a sense of space opening where there was once contraction, a deep silence where there was once noise and chaos. It may be subtle or dramatic, but the shift is real. When you do this fully for the first time, you break a spell that's lasted your whole life. You prove to yourself, on a cellular level, that you are bigger than any emotion, and that freedom doesn't lie in the absence of storms, but in your ability to become the vast sky that allows them all to pass. And this process of conscious release isn't just a wellness tool. It's the gateway to one of the deepest psychological and spiritual works a human being can undertake: the confrontation and integration of your own shadow, the place where your greatest treasures are hidden. This sacred process of emotional release isn't just a technique to feel better in the moment. It's the key that opens the door to the basement of your psyche, the place Swiss psychologist Carl Jung called the shadow. The shadow is our personal storage room of everything we consider unacceptable, shameful, bad, or weak within ourselves. It's home to our repressed rage, hidden greed, secret envy, denied vulnerability, and feared power. Jung once said one of the deepest truths in psychology: until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Your repetitive patterns, your failed relationships, your self-sabotage, your bad luck. It's all your unintegrated shadow at the helm of your ship, steering your life while you, the conscious captain, believe it's all just chance. Every time you use the release technique and allow yourself to fully feel a repressed emotion, you're actually performing a rescue. You're going down into the basement with a flashlight and bringing a piece of your shadow into the light of awareness. You're rescuing a part of yourself that was exiled long ago. This work requires brutal, relentless honesty with yourself. It's the act of stopping the blame game and finally looking in the mirror. It's saying, without sugarcoating, yes, that furious rage is mine. Yes, that corrosive envy is mine. Yes, that desperate neediness is mine. Yes, that paralyzing fear is mine. And when you do that, when you take ownership of your own darkness, something miraculous happens. You stop projecting it onto the outside world. You stop seeing others as the cause of your problems. The tyrant boss, the narcissistic partner, the backstabbing friend, the corrupt government, you begin to realize they weren't the cause of your pain, but actors hired by your subconscious. They were mirrors reflecting the energy of the shadow you refused to see and feel within yourself. The universe was sending you messengers to show you what was in your basement, but instead of thanking the message, you were smashing the mirror and blaming the messenger. When you integrate the shadow, you fire the actors and take the lead role in your own life. Facing the shadow can be terrifying at first because we're dismantling the false, idealized image we've built of ourselves. The persona of the good one, the spiritual one, the victim. But there's a deep and liberating secret in this process. The shadows we fear most aren't our enemies. They are actually our greatest allies, the guardians of our greatest treasures and powers. They are parts of our life force that have been fragmented and distorted. In the darkness of your repressed rage, you won't find evil. You'll find your strength, your passion, your ability to set healthy boundaries and say no. In the depths of your uncried grief, you'll find your immense capacity to love deeply and connect with others. In the vulnerability of your fear, you won't find weakness. You'll find your indomitable courage and sensitivity. The shadow contains the power you gave up in order to be accepted. By integrating the shadow, you don't become a perfect, flawless being. You become whole. And that wholeness, that integration of light and darkness, is the true source of personal power and authenticity. You stop living a divided life and become a unified being. And this practice of integration isn't a one-time event. It's a continuous discipline, a new way of living that turns your everyday life into a journey of constant alchemy. True spiritual transformation doesn't happen in a weekend retreat or a single cathartic event. Those moments can be powerful catalysts, but real mastery is built in the fabric of daily life. The release of a major emotional load can bring immense relief and a significant vibrational boost, but true freedom comes through constant, disciplined practice. Inner alchemy becomes a new way of life, a spiritual discipline that integrates into every moment of your day. Use this technique of feeling and releasing for everything, not just for big crises. That small irritation that shows up in traffic, the twinge of anxiety before an important meeting, the subtle sadness when you see an old photo, the sting of envy while scrolling through social media, each one of these small emotional reactions is an invitation to the practice. Each one is a golden opportunity to release one more little layer of stagnant energy, to clear a bit more of the basement and become a little freer, a little lighter. Don't wait for the flood. Learn to deal with each drop. Create simple daily rituals to support your inner alchemy. Start the day not by grabbing your phone, but with a few minutes of silence. Close your eyes and just feel your body. What's the state of your energy today? Is there tension, anxiety, peace? Just observe, without judgment, like checking the weather. And at the end of the day, before bed, take 5 or 10 minutes to do an emotional checkout. Ask yourself, what did I swallow today? What didn't I allow myself to feel in the rush of the day? Then process whatever comes up. Be patient and deeply compassionate with yourself during this process. Some emotions, especially those repressed for decades, like childhood trauma or pain from past relationships, carry an immense energetic load. They are like icebergs, and you only see the tip. You may need to revisit the same feeling of abandonment or injustice many times, releasing small pieces each time, layer by layer, like peeling an onion. There's no rush. You're undoing a lifetime of conditioning. Every layer released is a victory. With each consistent practice, You'll start to notice a subtle but profound shift in your life. Your overall reactivity will drop dramatically. Situations and people that used to drive you crazy and steal your peace for hours or days will start to feel strangely neutral. You'll observe them, maybe feel a small flicker of the old emotion, but it won't stick to you anymore. It will pass through you like a passing cloud instead of settling in like a storm. You'll feel lighter, more present, more grounded in yourself, less dependent on validation or other people's behavior to feel okay. This is the undeniable proof that the technique is working. Your dominant vibration, your energetic set point, is rising on the scale of consciousness. And this rise isn't temporary or forced like it was before. It's permanent. Because you're not just changing your mood. You're rewriting your very energetic structure from the ground up. And as this new energetic structure solidifies, something extraordinary starts to happen in the world around you. Your new, clearer, higher vibrational signature begins to interact with the quantum field in a completely different way, tuning into an entirely new reality. As you continue to practice daily alchemy, clearing the energetic static from your 3 lower portals, something extraordinary and inevitable begins to happen. Your vibrational signature, the sum total of your energetic frequency, becomes clearer, more coherent, and higher. And the quantum field, the sea of infinite potential from which all matter emerges, starts responding to this new transmission. The field doesn't respond to your wishes, your words, or your vision boards. It responds solely and exclusively to your dominant frequency, your state of being. When your vibration was anchored in fear, guilt, and scarcity, you were tuned in, like a radio, to a station that only played songs of struggle, hardship, and limitation. And the universe, like an obedient DJ, gave you exactly that. More experiences that confirmed and reinforced your low frequency. You weren't unlucky. You were perfectly tuned into a reality of bad luck. The law of resonance is impersonal and infallible. Like attracts like. Always. Now. As you practice release and raise your frequency to the levels of courage, acceptance, and eventually love and joy, you change your radio station. You tune into a completely new field of possibilities. A parallel reality that's always been available but was invisible to you from your old frequency. The new vibration you emit begins to naturally sync with events, people, and opportunities that match it. Synchronicity becomes your new normal. The right people show up in your life at the exact moment you need them. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach suddenly appear out of nowhere, like they just fell into your lap. The solution to a problem that's haunted you for years suddenly becomes obvious during a moment of insight in the shower. This isn't magic in the superstitious sense of the word. It's physics. It's the law of resonance in action, clear and direct. You're no longer fighting against the current of life. You've become the current itself. The universe, which once seemed indifferent, random, or even hostile, starts to reveal itself as your greatest partner, your co-creator. Things begin to flow to you in a way that's much faster, more enjoyable, and effortless. You realize the deep and liberating truth that the universe doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you are. Manifestation stops being a process of forcing, chasing, and struggling, and becomes a process of allowing, receiving, and being. You become a conscious co-creator, an active partner in the dance of creation. The world around you transforms into a faithful mirror of the peace, clarity, and power you finally claimed within yourself. You stop trying to change the reflection in the mirror and start working on the one looking into it. And the reflection has no choice but to change to match your new internal image. And this new reality isn't the final goal. It's just the natural consequence of something much greater. much deeper, and infinitely more valuable: the attainment of your permanent freedom. The ultimate goal of this journey, the true treasure at the end of the road, was never about reaching a state of perpetual happiness or never feeling a negative emotion again. That's a childish fantasy that only leads to more frustration. The real goal, the supreme prize, is freedom. The freedom to no longer be a slave to your unconscious and reactive patterns. The freedom to no longer be a puppet of your past traumas and your fears about the future. The freedom to be the master of your own inner universe. It's the freedom to feel the full spectrum of the human experience, from the deepest pain to the most ecstatic joy, knowing that you have the capacity to allow any wave to pass through you without destroying you, without defining you. It's the freedom to be authentically yourself, with all your light and all your shadow, in a state of wholeness, integration, and quiet power. Every day you practice, you become more free, because you're not clinging to any emotion, and you're not repressing any either. You become the silent observer, the vast sky that allows all clouds, light or dark, to pass without resistance. In this state of inner freedom, the power to manifest the reality you desire becomes a natural consequence of your being, no longer a desperate goal to chase. You no longer need complex visualization techniques, vision boards, or manifestation rituals, because your own clear and elevated vibrational signature is the most powerful magnet there is. You naturally align with your soul's purpose, and the entire universe conspires to support this unique and divine expression. That is you. Thoth, the divine scribe, taught that every thought is a spell and every word is a portal. Now you understand this not as a metaphor, but on a cellular, energetic level. You have become the scribe of your own reality, the alchemist of your own being. You've learned to take the heavy lead of your pain, your fear, and your shame, and transmute it through the fire of your conscious presence into the radiant gold of your true essence. You're no longer at the mercy of life. You dance with it. This information found you at this exact moment because you were ready. The call of your soul for freedom became louder than the noise of your fear. The secret that has been hidden for millennia, veiled in symbols and metaphors, now pulses through your veins as living knowledge, as direct experience. You faced your shadows and discovered they were guarding your greatest treasures. You broke free from the prison of the 3 lower portals and opened the way for the energy of life to flow through your heart. The journey has been deep. The transformation is real and irreversible. The life you once knew is over. A new existence, vibrating at a higher, clearer, and freer frequency, has just begun. The book of your life, which once felt like it was written by someone else, is now blank, with open pages, waiting for a new author. Pick up the pen. That author is you. If you made it this far, to this point in the video, it wasn't by accident. It means your soul recognized the truth in what was said. So I know you completed this journey with me. Leave a comment saying, "The technique found me." That way, I'll know who the people truly ready for transformation are. And if you feel this content brought you value and you want to help this channel grow more directly, there's a way to contribute in the first pinned comment. Any support you can give is very meaningful to me and to my ability to keep sharing content like this out there, reaching more people who need to wake up. But know this, even just by making it to the end of this video, you're already helping a lot. If you can, share this video with at least one person you believe needs to hear this message. And before you go, don't leave just yet. I've selected a special video for you to take the next step on this journey, to go even deeper into what we talked about here. Click the video that's showing up on the screen now, and I'll meet you there. See you on the other side.